heard this song when it came out, and I was really impressed with this, hey, this kind of butch, almost Elvis-like growl from Charlie Rich, who apparently, according to Wikipedia, was actually a jazz pianist, or at least that's the direction he wanted to go in, and there was a reluctant country balladeer, although of course his voice is perfect for that. And it's a slightly odd song. It seems it's two different songs cobbled together, and there are two distinct sections. We'll look at the intro first of all, then the verse, which itself is in two sections, and then this bridge, I'm calling it. It's just a section that appears once that does feel a bit different. It's all in the key of G, although the second part of the verse goes into a little kind of meandering G minor section, which is a little bit odd, but it all comes out in the wash. We're in G, as I say, 4 beats in the bar. Just straight down, up, down, up, down. There is actually a 12-string guitar that you hear in the beginning, but otherwise it's not a huge amount of guitar in the original, so we'll distill down whatever the bass and piano are doing into a workable arrangement for guitar. Okay, we get 4 bars of G, and right at the end of the first bar and the third bar, there's this. Here's our G, and you'll notice I'm playing G without using the first finger. I'm a big proponent of playing G this way. This is a move that you'll see a lot in American folk revival, Dylan, Paul Simon. You see this with James Taylor, Ed Sheeran. I mean, you know, all sorts of acoustic guitarists will do this. Cat Stevens, that kind of thing. Listen to April Come She Will. I've got a video on that by Simon and Garfunkel, and it's that kind of move as well. We get G, and then the first and second fingers play as if they're playing a C. So it's almost like we've got a G with a bit of C inside of it. C over G. That happens just on the 4th beat, but by the time we play the up strum after it, we're actually reverting back to the G chord. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So it's off again on the and. That happens in the first bar and again in the third bar. Then we get the 4th bar is just G, and then we finished with the intro and we're into the verse. So the intro itself is this. And again. 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and 2, 3, 4. Hey! And we're into the verse. Now, as I say, the verse is in 2 distinct sections. We've got a fairly standard 8-bar section and then this slightly more involved second section. The first section is simple enough. The second section actually starts the same way. A bar of G, then we have what's called a 2-5-1 into C. D minor 7, G7 to C. Hey, did you happen to see the most beautiful? I'm playing my D minor 7 like this with 3 separate fingers. First finger up on the 1st fret of the top string, second finger then on the 2nd string, third finger on the 2nd fret of the 3rd. You could bridge across them, but actually I think that's easier because you're going to want to move on to the G7. That first finger doesn't move, and then you're into C. 2 beats each on the D minor 7 and the G7, and then we're into C, and it's 2 bars of C. Hey, did you happen to see the most beautiful girl in the world? Now we get 2 bars of E7 before a bar of A7 and a bar of D7, and we're done with that first section. And if you did, oh, she cried. And when we get to the D7, we're actually going to play a C over D. So it's D7, but without these 2nd and 3rd fingers for the 2nd, so the 1st and 3rd strings are open. Technically, this is 4 over 5, which is a really common device in soft rock. Just to kind of flow very nicely and slightly more subtly into that D7. So the whole of the first 8 bars. Hey, did you happen to see the most beautiful girl in the world? E7. And if you did, was she crying? Okay, before we go on, if you listen to the bass on the original, it's doing something like this, which is alternating bass, and we can easily get that into our guitar playing. So I'm going to pick for G the bottom string, then I'm going to strum on the second beat, and then on the third beat I'm going to play the open fourth string. Okay, that's one bar, and if we're strumming this way, pick, strum, we've got time to play one standard bass note and one alternating bass note. Take a look at my video on alternating bass, and there's a bunch of quite simple rules governing what the alternating bass note is. For C, for instance, we play C this way, third finger is on the third fret of the fifth string. As we alternate, I'm going to move that down to the third fret of the sixth string. Bars of C, we've actually got time to do that twice. For the E chord, well, for E7 we're going to want to move from the standard bass note, which is the open sixth string, to the fifth string. Don't have to move anything in the fretting hand. 6 to 5. Okay. So for the G chord it's 6 to 4. For the C chord it's fifth string to the sixth string, and I'm moving that to stay on the same fret. And then for E it's 6 to 5. For A7, 5 to 6. 5 to 6. And for the D7, well, it would be 4 to 5. But at that point, I'm going to stop strumming, and I'm just going to do one of those on one of those in the 8th bar anyway. But the whole thing then, the first 8 bars this way with the alternating bass. Hey, did you happen to see the most beautiful girl in the world? And if you did, was she crying, crying? And we're into the second half. Of course, you don't have to play the alternating bass, but I do think it adds a little something there, doesn't it? Now, as I say, the second half of the verse begins the same way. Hey, if you happen to see the most beautiful girl. After one bar of C, though, we go to C minor. Now, this is where it starts to get a bit dramatic. C minor, I'm playing an A minor type bar chord on the third fret, and I'm not going to do alternating bass here. I could do 5 to 6, but I just want a little kind of interlude there. Hey, if you happen to see the most beautiful girl that walked out on me. And now we get 4 bars of G minor, and I'm going to play this slightly differently. My G minor, I'm going to form on the top 3 strings at the 3rd fret, and I've got a note here on the 5th fret of the 4th string, that's my G. But then the next bar, that's going to go down to an F sharp, so that note is moving to the 4th fret. Then it's an F natural, and then it's going to be on the 2nd fret as an E. So I've got G minor, then I've got G minor over F sharp, then G minor over F, and then it's G minor over E, and I'm just going to mush with my 3rd finger there across the top strings there. So I'm barring across the top 3 strings at the 3rd fret with my 1st finger initially. Whoops. And then my 1st finger is going to move to the 2nd fret of the 4th string, and my 3rd finger is going to take over there for that G minor over E. So if we get into that section, hey, if you happen to see the most beautiful girl that walked out on me, tell her I'm sorry, tell her I need my baby. And I'm just picking with my thumb on the 4th string, and then the 3 picking fingers on the top 3, like that. It's kind of like Stairway to Heaven, isn't it? Oh, A minor 7 for a bar, won't you tell her? D7 for a bar, and 2 bars of G, and I love her. And when we get to the A minor 7, we're going to start our alternating bass again. For A minor 7, it's 5 to 6. For D7, 4 to 5, and then G. As I say, there are some fairly simple rules around alternating bass, what string you want to hit when and so on. But as I say, check the video out and you'll find that that system is pretty straightforward to get to grips with. All right, the whole of the second part of the verse, and then we're into the bridge. Hey, if you happen to see the most beautiful girl walked out on me, tell her I'm sorry. Tell her I need my baby. Oh, won't you tell her that I love her? I woke up this morning, realized what I had done. This is really simple. D7, stood alone in the cold grey dawn sea. I knew I lost my morning sun. And again, G. I lost my head and I said some things. Now comes the heartache that the morning brings. I know I'm lost, I couldn't see. I let my world slip away from me. And hey, and then we're back to the verse. So the whole of the bridge is really straightforward. It's just 3 or 4 chords. A couple of things to think about though. We begin with these 2 bars of G, and then we move, a bit like in the verse, via G7, without the D minor 7, but a G7 to get us to the C, a secondary dominant. Woke up this morning, realised what I can actually keep the alternating bass going. G to 4, 6, and then I change to G7, and the alternating bass note is the open 4th string, just as it would be for a straight G. C. Alternating bass 5 and 6 as before, D7, 4 to 5. Bar of C, 5 to 6, and we're back to G. I lost my head and I said some, and again G7 with the open 4th string as the alternating bass, C. Now comes the heartaches, and the A7 is 5 to 6. Morning brings, we get 3 bars of this A7, another 2 bars. I know I'm lost, I couldn't see. D7, 2 bars of that, and the alternating bass is 4 to 5. I let my world slip away from me, so hey, and we're back to the verse. If you're alternating bass on the A7, 5 to 6, now my strings are fairly fresh, so that still sounds quite bright, but if your strings aren't all that, you might find that open 6th string does sound a bit flabby as the alternating bass for A7. But you can find E on the 2nd fret of the 4th string instead. So that's an option if you prefer an alternative way of alternating the bass. That's pretty much it. There's a couple of details in the verse. Let's just look at what happens on the E7. In the bass, we get this. I'll play from the beginning of the verse. Hey, did you happen to see the most beautiful girl in the world? This line, it's actually played on the bass, boom, boom, and then the piano picks up with da, da, da. So that's a C twice. It's the 3rd fret of the 5th string. Bum, bum. And then we move chromatically up the 4th string. Open 4th. I'm going to put my 1st finger on the 1st fret of the 4th to create D sharp, and then an E on the 2nd fret. Hey, did you happen to see the most beautiful girl in the world? There it is. Now, in fact, I guess you want to play it that way. We're not playing that note on the 2nd fret of the 4th string because we're actually playing an E7. But you could start with an E and then break out into an E7 just so that we manage to catch that note. That might work. But I'm going to give you another option because I want to show you a different shape for E7. And it's this. This is a really versatile shape. We'll start with C. Put your little finger on the 3rd fret of the G string, the 3rd string there. That's now C7. And if you were to move that up a couple of frets, you'd have D7. If you watch my videos, you see me using this shape all the time. 2 more frets, so my 1st finger is now on the 5th fret of the 2nd string, E7. And in fact, I can use the open 6th and first strings to give me a really grand, resonant E7 shape here. And this might make it easier to reach. Okay? I'm going to put my first finger on the 3rd fret of the 5th string, and then move it up to the 5th fret, 2nd finger on the 6th, 3rd finger on the 7th, and that's where it needs to be for this new E7. So we'd have, hey, did you happen to see the most beautiful girl in the world? Okay, that might work. It might feel a bit of a faff to come all the way up here, but this is such a great resonant sound for acoustic guitar. And because it's basically a C shape, we would alternate like this on C. We can do the same thing for the E7. My 3rd finger is going to start on the 7th fret of the 5th string, but then 7th fret of the 6th string. So we'd have, hey, did you happen to see the most beautiful girl in the world? And if you did, was she crying, crying? And that is pretty much it. So I've got a backing track. I'll play the song once through. I'm going to have a bit of fun with this. And then I'll run the backing track on its own so you can play it your way. Thanks for watching and see you on the next one. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hey, did you happen to see the most beautiful girl in the world? And if you did, was she crying, crying? Hey, if you happen to see the most beautiful girl that walked out on me, tell her I'm sorry. Tell her I need my baby. Ooh, won't you tell her that I love her? I woke up this morning, realized what I had done. I stood alone in the cold grey dawn. I knew I lost my morning sun. I lost my head and I said some things. How come the heartache that the morning brings? Oh, no one knows, I couldn't see. I let my world slip away from me. So hey, did you happen to see the most beautiful girl in the world? And if you did, was she crying, crying? Hey, if you happen to see the most beautiful girl that walked out on me, tell her I'm sorry. Tell her I need my baby. Oh, won't you tell her I love her? If you happen to see the most beautiful girl walk down on me, tell her I'm sorry. Tell her I need my baby. Oh, won't you tell her I love her? That's it.